activated and firing for what they're about to go through. If we go in with what's called cold muscles or muscles that just aren't ready, we're more likely to lead to injury. And the main reason we do our light warm-ups and cool downs and activations or drills and strides before we go into these harder workouts is simply because we're trying to get our muscles ready to endure what they're about to face. And simply the fact that so many injuries occur from starting with muscle tightness, which can start by not preparing the muscles well for what they're about to go through, which then leads to muscle knots, and muscle knots can then lead to injuries or pulled muscles or whatever it might be. But these things can all be traced back to just a little bit of muscle tightness, because often what happens if we don't prep the muscles, we don't prime them, and we do go into these workouts a little bit cold, should we say, and the muscles aren't ready, we can walk away from those workouts feeling a little bit tight, a little bit stiff. It's where the muscles kind of overworked or been shocked into doing something it wasn't ready to do. And then if we don't treat that or look after at that point, that can then manifest itself into knots in our muscles. We've all had those. They are horrific and very painful. And then from there, that can then lead to further injury. So it's really important that we look after those muscles as we go in to these workouts. We get our body ready for what they're about to go through. So the light jog just gets the muscles firing, the blood flowing. We go through the drills and strides and the activations, getting all the muscles ready, and some nice strides at the end just to kind of prep the body that, hey, we're going to be going a little bit faster here. This is what you're about to endure. Let's get ready for it, rather than just walking out that door and going straight into some very fast running. Point number 2, let's touch on recovery tools and aids, and also recovery in general after runs. So if you don't look after your muscles after you've done those harder sessions, or those long runs or those steady runs, whatever it might be, obviously we have to do it after our easy runs as well, but they take a little bit less out of the body than what these harder runs do. Then often, just like I said, that muscle tightness can manifest into muscle knots, can then manifest into injuries. And so many runners' injuries can be prevented if we just take care of that muscle tightness or deal with that muscle knot that has appeared before it then continues to run on it even more and more, and it manifests itself into a point where we have to take some time off. Now, recovery aids can look things like massage guns, recovery balms, foam rollers, whatever it might be and whatever you like to use. What we have to remember, especially if we don't hydrate very well, especially for the runners out there that don't hydrate very well, which I put my hand up, I drink a lot, but in the summer I do struggle to get all the fluid back in because I sweat so much. We often get sticky muscle fibers, and when we get sticky muscle fibers, that's when we get the tightness, and that's when the muscle knots happen. So it's really important to break apart those muscle fibers and just get them moving together between themselves nicely, rather than just being stuck together, because that's when we get wads of muscle fibers stuck. That's, as I said, when the tightness happens. So breaking them apart, whether it's with the muscle balms like I use with the Pure Sport and the Gua Sha tool, where I'm just gently rolling that down the muscle fibers, trying to break them up, whether it's with a foam roller, whether it's with a massage gun, whatever it is, just spending a little bit of time to do that. Or a lacrosse ball is great, a spiky one in particular, I've got a few of those, they are fantastic. Just getting into those muscles and just loosening them all up again is really, really key to get yourself ready for that next session. And I would like to tack on to the end of that point very quickly, not that I'm going to go into this in any more detail, but getting enough protein into our diets is really, really key. I often find that if I have a lack of protein over a few days, I feel a heck of a lot more fatigue. The DOMs are real, the delayed onset of muscle soreness, and yeah, I do feel a lot worse for it. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to kind of get into a whole food debate, because there's so many different ways we can get protein and how we, the right balance of carbs and protein and stuff. But I do find if I neglect it and really kind of have an over excessive amount of carbs, over protein, then everything we're doing with letting our muscles recover with the recovery tools and getting them ready kind of is only half the job. We've got to be getting the right food and nutrients in to help those muscles repair as well. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm not neglecting that off this list. It's just, I think, such a big topic. We could throw that in to a different video itself. And the third thing that causes so many injuries, and I am so guilty of this, or I used to be so guilty of this all the time, is actually running too hard. Believe it or not, you really can run too hard, especially if you know where your ability level is and you really do push the limits when you're out there running. You can often find yourself leading to injury. Here's a great example for you. So we all know sort of like where we're at when we go out and we do sessions and we got some interval work, and we know roughly where we're meant to run that pace. We can have good days, and I am a firm believer that if you feel good and you're running those repetitions sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds faster than what you should do, capitalize on it, go for it, feel good and enjoy it, because you're not overstretching yourself that much, you're just having a good day. And on those bad days, you just end up working to effort and you just bank it and you move on. but you wouldn't be surprised how many times I used to go out there, and I see it with so many other runners as well. They really overstrain to push as hard as they can, almost sprinting in so many sessions, and really kind of overreaching where their actual level is. And when you do that, you're really breaking down your form so quickly that
Monday.com makes Gans great again. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to say again because they never were.
effectively you're going to end up injured sooner rather than later. A great example, I had a great training block through London Marathon, and this actually wasn't due to the fact that I was running too fast, but this is the whole form breaking down thing. I was out there 5 days before London Marathon, getting my taper session done. So many of you remember it, and I said to Lee whilst I was out there, mate, this feels way too hard. I was running at a really conservative pace, but I was really overstraining. My form was terrible. I could feel something wasn't right, and then bam, got shot down by a sniper. It felt horrific, and it was as if someone had shot me in the back, and my whole back locked up, and I hit the deck, and I just couldn't get up for a few minutes, and then I had to walk home. It was so painful, and that all came down to running feeling so unnatural. And that's the whole point of this. If it feels unnatural, if you're really forcing yourself and you don't feel comfortable, you're meant to run relaxed when you run fast. You know, the best runners run fast relaxed, and that's what they do. They don't overstretch and over push in a session. By all means, capitalize on those good days, but if you're pushing too much where you feel like you're really overstraining, your arms are going too far, you're really haunching forward, your legs are going back, your back is stretching just because you're almost sprinting with everything, it is a recipe for disaster. And point number 4 is all about not increasing intensity and volume at the same time. I've talked about this in a previous video, and it's really important for me to drop this one back into this one because it's such a common thing. I did this a couple of times actually back in my first couple of years of running when I didn't really understand the concept. I just knew I wanted to take things to the next level, and I just assumed that I just basically took what I did and just inflated everything that I was doing, and it's just not what you're meant to do. Obviously, we hear about how we're meant to gently increase volume every week or gently increase the intensity, but when we do those two things together, we really are overloading our body. And if you think about it, if we increase intensity or volume once at a time, we are still overloading our body with what we would normally do, but by doing it gently and sensibly, it allows our body time to adapt with and settle at that new level of intensity or volume. We get our body used to it, get 2 or 3 weeks done there, and then we can step up again. And we're just doing it in gentle steps. Well, if we take that gentle step and double it, because we're doing that with intensity as well, then our body is far more likely to break down. Once we've increased the intensity and we're sort of happy at that level, fantastic, and we've been doing that for a while, then feel free to look at increasing the volume. Likewise, once we've increased the volume and got to that new level and we're comfortable there and our body's handled it for a few weeks, fine, look at increasing the intensity slightly, but just do it step by step on each side. Don't go whoop on both of them. It's just not a good idea. And tip number 5 is about being careful when you change your shoes in terms of the heel to toe drop. So I see it a lot with people trying to move down to 0 drop running shoes or trying to go down to a much more shallower heel to toe drop. So many daily trainers start off in and around that 8 to 10 to even 12 millimeter heel to toe drop. So we've got 12, 10 or 8 millimeters of higher stack height in the heel to the forefoot. So our foot is effectively on a slant. I should probably do it with that hand, not with my bent finger, but like that. So basically what that means is we have a lot more slack on our Achilles. Our Achilles gets a little bit more of a rest because it's not when we're foot's flat, there's going to be more tension running through the Achilles, whereas if it's like that, Achilles and calf I should say, where it's like that, there's a little bit less tension going through the Achilles and calf. So when we do a massive change down to sort of 0 drop running shoes or down to 4 millimeters or below, because again that's quite a common thing. I know Hoka's, a lot of Hoka's are 5 mils, a lot of Sauconys are 4 mil. The shifts that I run in are 4 millimeter drop. When you go from something like a Pegasus or a Nova Blast that's a 10 down to that, it can be a bit of a shock to the system. And it's all about doing that gently and over time and putting small runs in to start. I remember I tweaked my calf a couple of years ago when I got some Ultra running shoes, Innovate running shoes in to test. I only went out and did 6 miles, but I ended up doing a very hilly route, and the hills on a 0 drop running shoe were really putting my calf through the ringer, and the next couple of days my calf just went and I was out of action for just over a couple of weeks. So it really can be a bit of a minefield with shoes, but it is something to bear in mind. If you're quite a new runner and you're not aware of this or not too familiar with this, do always check the heel to toe drop on shoes. And if you're running in shoes in and around a certain area, don't make a drastic change really up or down. Just if you are going to go up or down, just make sure that when you go into that, you start with smaller runs to begin with to get your body used to it, and then you can progress through time. And point number 6, the final one, and I really want to hammer this home, and I really can't get this through to so many runners because this has affected me so much over the years, is address our weaknesses as a runner, address those imbalances. I mean, yep, this does come with strength and conditioning. Yep, I'm a more recent strength and conditioning convert, but I have still been trying to address imbalances throughout the last couple of years with smaller exercises and different types of mobility work, although I'm much more committed to it now. In the past, I've really focused on it too. Great example for me, and we all have our injury histories. Pre-running, I was a footballer. I absolutely demolished my right ankle. It had so many rips and tears in tendons and muscles, you wouldn't believe it. I've dislocated my right shoulder, and I was predominantly left-footed. So for me, I've always got this dominant side for me, which is my left side. My calf muscle on my right side compared to my left is about 3/4 of an inch smaller than on the left side, and my quad is about 1.25 inches smaller than on my right side. So I very much have a dominant side, which means if you ever watch me running on this running YouTube channel, you'll often see that my right side, my right foot sometimes kicks out, and you'll often notice that when my arm swing goes a bit sloppy, my right side comes over a little bit more to try and compensate. So my weakness is very much down that right side, and that all tracks back into the glute area. Although I've had injuries elsewhere, the key to a lot of this is to work from the center and out. So start at the hips and the glute and then work out and down. So strengthening that side a little bit more than maybe what the other side needs. Now with my strength and conditioning routine, I do everything on the left and right side exactly the same and exactly equal. But I do find that with my right hand side, everything is a little bit harder. But at the same time, I don't want to over focus on the right hand side too much because I feel like I could end up causing myself a bit more damage and overstraining it. I've got to build things up gently. And so many runners often get injuries. Like if I ever get injuries, it's always my right calf, it's always my right glute, it's always my right something. Everything that I usually get injured is on my right hand side. And with my back, whenever my back goes, I can track it back to my left hand side above my back, because with our muscle chains and the way it works for me in particular, it goes up the back of the right hand side, crosses over at the hip, and then up the left hand side of the back. It's sort of, if we work at the top on our shoulders, we go down through the back of the shoulders, cross over at the hip, and then go down there. So on our back chain, it crosses over at the back. So that's why I know that I have this weakness, and it always exposes itself. So working out where our weaknesses are, getting checked out either by a PT, a physio, whatever it might be, if we've got a common injury occurrence, finding out what it is, addressing it, and working towards fixing it, or working towards getting that area stronger, will make you feel so much more bulletproof, I promise. So there we go, those are 6 common mistakes that I think runners make that often lead to injury. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. As I mentioned at the end of point 2, I think the whole protein intake thing is a really big topic, but for me, it's not something I'm qualified in talking about. And I mean, I stretch myself by talking about this sort of stuff, because although I dabble with coaching and I'm still learning and I'm still kind of understanding, but I feel like I've got a decent amount of knowledge in this area. But nutrition and stuff, it's just not my area, and I don't feel comfortable talking about it, and I won't talk about it in great detail. But I do know from previous experiences and even up to now, if I do lack in eating a good amount of protein, I often feel that the effects of that for 2, 3, 4 days later, in the fact that I get delayed onset of muscle soreness DOMS, or I just feel much more fatigued, I don't feel the muscles are recovering, and it's such a key thing that we need to keep on top of. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about the points that I've raised today and what your thoughts are on this topic. I'd love to hear your comments below. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then. Canova is a very famous Italian distance running coach who coaches Olympic level athletes at a variety of distances. His training methods have been highly studied over the years and really focuses a lot of time on helping athletes extend their speed endurance so they can hold a given pace for a longer period of time. But can these training methods filter down to us more casual runners, and how can we implement them into our training? What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm sharing with you guys how special blocks can help our endurance. So implementing special blocks into my training is something I've wanted to do for a long time. In a previous training block, I did a lot of Canova inspired work with a previous running coach, which was fantastic and I loved it. But I wanted to dive a little bit deeper during this training block and get some special blocks done to see what the magic's all about, how they help and how I felt doing them. So I'm excited today to share with you my experiences, but before that, share with you what they are, how we can implement them, basically what they do and how they can help us improve our speed endurance over those longer distances. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give this video a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with what they specifically are. So especially
the perfect smile is the one you don't hold back. Colgate Optic.
Special block occurs within the specific training phase of a Canova training cycle, which is the final 10 weeks of an athlete's marathon build. So really getting into the specifics there. Now, if you want to learn more about this, I'm talking specifically marathon, but Canova coaches athletes anywhere from 800 meters and up. I am going to talk about some resources at the end, some videos for you guys to go and watch, and also share a couple of articles that you guys can go and read. So stay tuned for that. But this is going to be more marathon specific focused. So it is where an athlete undertakes 2 workouts in a day. They really need to be well rested going into the workout, or into the day I should say, and really prepared to take 2 or 3 easy days thereafter to allow their body to recover from the intensity. There's a couple of different versions of a special block which we'll talk about shortly, especially when it comes to implementing it. And in terms of this, sometimes what Canova likes to do is only get his athletes to drink water and eat vegetables in between the morning and the afternoon session to allow their bodies to get more fat adapted, to allow them to use fat as a fuel and become more efficient. That's something that's very optional, something that I have not done, but something that he quite insists on doing with his elite level athletes. And if you saw my double threshold day workout video and how you can implement it into your own training, you'll notice a similarity in the fact that we have 2 workouts in a day. Now, when I talk about the double threshold day, we're talking about we're measuring our lactate levels. That's how that type of training and style of training is worked out. So the morning is your goal to aim for around 2 millimoles of lactate in your blood, where the evening you can have sort of a scope to go up to 3.5 to 4 millimoles, meaning that morning session is less intense than the evening. With Canova's training, I'm not drawing too much of a similarity here, but there is a morning and an evening, and the morning does, when you come to the mixed version of his special block, which we'll talk about the difference between the endurance and the mixed. When the mixed one, you have a more endurance-based session in the morning and a more speed-focused session in the evening. But always with Canova stuff, the specificity is key, and we're always trying to work in and around a range of that 100% goal marathon race pace, whether that's going down to 90% or going up and above to 105%. Canova likes to really squeeze down that pace.
lang talaga. Mamis na always pa yan. Noon, babayad kami. Bayad ka. Sinunta natin. Di ba? Sanda, oh. Bayad ka. Pamangat kaya yan. Huli ka, boy. Galing ka Skyway. Panortin.
Hi guys, install nyo na ang Epoch Game. Nasa comment section ang link at ang referral ID natin 835576. Gusto nyo bang kumita? Wala kayong magawa sa bahay. Eto, install mo ng Epoch Game. Meron ba ang laro? Yung Minds Game, trending ngayon. Dito, isang bomba lang. Ang iiwasan natin. Napaka-basic. 100 natin. 100 pesos. Bet 100 pesos. Yan, isang bombang iiwasan natin yan. Gusto nyo bang kumita ng pera mabilis? Ito, try mo na.
Range and get you working very close to your goal pace so that your body can get used to knowing how it feels. So how are these special blocks implemented into a marathon training cycle? Well, as I said earlier, Canova likes to put these in the final 10 weeks of the specific phase of the marathon training cycle, and he'll drop them in every 3 to 4 weeks for an athlete. So an athlete might only do 2, maybe 3 of these in that final 10 weeks. Some examples of both of these types of training. So we talked a second ago about a more mixed training block where there's a bit of speed sprinkled in there, but there's also a more endurance focused special block. So let's give you examples of both of those now so that you have a good idea as to what they are. You start off in the morning by doing 10K at 90% of your marathon effort. Then you have a 5-minute static rest. After that, you might embark on a 20K marathon pace goal run, so 100% goal pace. In between that, as I alluded to, for the very elite level athletes, they might just drink water and eat vegetables throughout the day so that when they come to the evening session, they really are burning fat and becoming more fat adapted and more efficient. The evening is then mirrored from the morning, so 10K at 90% effort, 5-minute static rest, and then potentially another 20K marathon pace effort, so another 100% effort. Now, that is 50K's worth of work, which is an
At 20, immunity starts to weaken. Take Immune Pro. Magtiwala sa Pro Immune Pro.
Burger now heavy hitter. Fuck those best ever quarter pounder. Now harder, juicier, tastier. 100% beef all over. Top with onions, the fresher, what a winner. Now harder, juicier, tastier.
The reason because of this 10K.
Shot. go?
Hard station. Today,
Yeah.
normal. I just take breakfast and then lunch.
And we speak about the philosophy of marathon training for the top athletes and something that we changed in the last 15 years. The first thing, we speak about a training system and the practical examples. This is the last athlete from my athlete winning World Championships this year, after winning Boston, Geoffrey Kirui, and is not yet in good training because the volume is very, very low. And we hope no, that can improve also this. The important points to follow are this one. The athletes of international level must produce quality. So, when you run many kilometers in a small range, cioè never you run very slow, you never are able to run very fast. And we need to have a quality. Quality means high modulation in the type of training. That is exactly the opposite of what we ask to amateur, because for them it's not possible to produce high quality. So they need to have another type of system. But when we speak about top athletes, the top quality is the key. In order to produce quality, we need to use a big modulation between high intensity and recovery. And the specific quality is the key for running at the best possible level for everybody. If you want to run a fast marathon, what is specific? Marathon is 42 kilometers. Everything that is shorter than half marathon is not specific. Everything that is slower than 10% of the marathon pace is not specific. So running very long and very slow is not specific, but is general. Beh? Something? Okay. When Antonio before spoke about periodization with two big etapas, stages. One is the general and the second is the specific. We are a little bit more precise, but the system is the same. Transition is what we have to do after a marathon. So we need to do something for recovering. Recovering is not only to wait and to rest, but every time we run a marathon, we go to lose something on the side of strength, muscle strength. So during the transition period, the first idea is to start to rebuild the strength. We use a circuit, we use a gym in this period, about 4 weeks. General period are 4 weeks. So together are the 8 weeks that Antonio spoke about. The same thing. After this, we have the fundamental period that is the base for everything. And finally, the specific period that is, of course, the most important. Transition period lasts 4 weeks after the marathon. What do we do in this period? Easy run, no longer than 1 hour. Recovery for muscle strength, reactivity, exercise for running technique. The general period lasting again 4 weeks. General resistance, it means that we start to run longer, training strength, endurance, and ability to recruit fast fibers. What is this one? This one is because we start to put short sprints uphill, 10, 12 seconds, at maximal speed. Don't look at short sprints like something useless because you run a marathon. The final goal for this is a physiological goal. We need to be able to have the connection between brain and the fast fibers. When we don't use never fast fibers, we lose the possibility to work with the fast fibers. And what happened about the energy, about the fuel? We have about 3–5% of fuel that is inside the fast fibers. But if we don't have the key of the store for opening the door, we never can use this type of fuel. So this type of training at the end can produce the possibility to last and to have yet fuel in the last 3, 4, 5 kilometers. Nothing to do with the full speed. Has a physiological reason. General period, we have a long run at even pace, 80% of marathon pace. No, long run with variation, fartlek. Long continuous run, also uphill. We use normally 10, 12 kilometers, maybe 3–4% of gradient. In Kenya, we have one course of 27 kilometers, where we have 2,000 meters of difference in altitude, and sometimes we use 2 times. It's more psychological than the real way of working, because at the end, for Wilson Kipsang, for Eliud Kipchoge, for the best in the world, the final average is about 4:15, 4:20 per kilometer. So, okay, fatigue mentally. When you finish, you tell to yourself, I am very hard to do this, but really, under the physiological point of view, not so much interesting. No? And low continuous run in progression over speed. The example was the 30 kilometers of Javier Guerra, no? 15 kilometers plus the last 15 at 3:03 or something like this. Long run at even pace, we have 2 sessions per week that are easy, 1 hour 30, 2 hours in this period. 2 sessions are at 80%, no? And are a little bit shorter. 1 session no, is at faster, and 5 sessions per week of regeneration. You can see how many sessions, because we start with the idea that these top athletes always have, practically in this period, 2 sessions per day. So normally we work with 13 sessions per week with this type of athletes, because there is not yet something of very high intensity, needing only 1 session in 1 day for recovering. Here there are the execution. I don't need to explain. You can see what are the practically the possibility that we have many things. This is practically the normal fartlek that we use. This, where is it? I think. Oh, this one. Now, oh la 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 la. Come back. So the last type of fartlek, 20 times 1 minute fast and alternating with 1 minute more slow, is a fartlek for marathon. Which is the difference between the fartlek for maybe 5,000 meters, 10,000, also short distance, and the fartlek for marathon? In the fartlek for marathon, we don't jog after the test, but we run. We run at a good speed. For giving an idea, in this final type of training, that is 1 hour, we have normally the athlete running 19.2, 19.3 kilometers at 2,300 meters of altitude. So it's possible to do this only if you run fast the recovery. And to run fast the recovery is the key because we changed the system of training for many years ago. Why? Because many years ago, the idea that we had about every tactic workout looking at a marathon that was a mistake. And we tried every time to avoid every lactic situation for this. Also with Italian, winning Olympic, like Gelindo Bordin, we started to change something with Baldini, practically, no? In the last period, because of the experience that we had with Kenyans. And we had experience because they were very strong. So with this type of athletes, we could try something different. So what is different? Different is that Kenya
My breakfast actually is simple. I normally take tea and bread and a banana for 3 days a week. But during the hard days, like also 3 days a week, I'm taking tea, some fruits, also banana and an egg.
Breakfast, I usually take a cup of tea and chapati. And in lunch, like today, it's rice with beans.
At 4 o'clock after the evening rant, and I took porridge, which in the evening I normally eat a staple food for Kenya, that's sukali, beef stew plus some either sukuma or cabbage. And then maybe have a glass of mursid, sometimes normal milk. Mursid is fermented milk. If you actually take it, then it will speed up the digestion.
If you have appetite for avocado, we go and bought it, maybe 1 or 2, only for appetizer, but not every day that you eat avocado.
I'm a Kenyan and I really like avocado.
Fish with chapati or ugali, even kuku sometimes. Or ugali, even kuku sometimes. I like some of the fruits like banana, orange, mango, and watermelon.
I take chocolates once in a while. Not really bad, but I take French fries once in a while. I don't drink alcohol. My conscience cannot allow me to drink alcohol.
Food is that food only, nothing I can change. If it's ugali, I can eat ugali up to the last moment.
80% of the food that I've been eating for the last 10 years are the same. But we inject sometimes like more proteins to replace the teared tissues in the body. My breakfast actually is simple.
She's gone below 49 seconds this season. Just leaning back on the line, her work done. And again, there are other contenders we've talked about, and we'll see them in Kaczmarek and Klaver, but I think Paulino, she really does look as if perhaps she'll finally get her hands on the gold.
Yeah, those top 3 all under 50-second mark. But, you know, Andy, there's a huge step up from the heats going into this semi-final. There's no stage you can really coast. You've got to race literally from gun to tape. Nail your best race if you want to see yourself through to the final.
Colin, do you remember Cynthia Bolingo? We'll probably come back to discuss this race. We look to be heading elsewhere at the moment, but just confirming the qualifiers for the women's 100 metres final.
Yes. Sorry, Andrew. Not quite sure why they've thrown them in. So Dina Asher-Smith and Eva Svoboda. Where is Richardson? They put 3 in. They put Svoboda and Asher-Smith as the same time. Or the new rule, I mean, we can have 9 in the final. We've got 9 lanes. I'm not sure why they would do that. There was meant to be 8.
Yeah, there was a 1,000th between them, wasn't there? Maybe.
I normally take tea and bread and a banana for 3 days a week. But during the hard days, like also 3 days a week, I'm taking tea, some fruits, also banana and an egg.
Breakfast, I usually take a cup of tea and chapati. And in lunch, like today, it's rice with beans.
At 4 o'clock of the evening rant, and I took porridge, which in the evening I normally eat a staple food for Kenya, that's sukali, beef stew plus some either sukuma or cabbage, and then maybe have a glass of mursid, sometimes normal milk. Mursid is fermented milk. If you actually take it, then it will speed up the digestion.
If you have appetite for avocado, we go and bought it, maybe 1 or 2, only for appetizer, but not every day that you eat avocado.
I'm a Kenyan and I really like avocado.
Fish with chapati or ugali, even kuku sometimes. I like some of the fruits like banana, orange, mango, and watermelon.
I take chocolates once in a while, not really bad, but I take French fries once in a while. I don't drink alcohol. My conscience cannot allow me to drink alcohol.
Food is that food only, nothing I can change. If it's ugali, I can eat ugali up to the last moment.
80% of the food that I've been eating for the last 10 years are the same, but we inject sometimes like more proteins to replace the teared tissues in the body, especially after the hard sessions.
Okay. 3K. 4K. 5K. 6K.
use
insane amount of work to do in a day, and I do hasten to add I am going to talk in this next part about how I've adapted it for us mere mortals training with this type of method. For a more mixed block where you're adding a bit of speed in, which is something that I've been doing during this block, and I'll explain why shortly, you start off with 10k in the morning, and then you have once again a 5-minute static rest, that 10k once again being at 90% goal pace, and then you might have another marathon pace long run, so 100% effort. Maybe that's a 10k, maybe that's up to 20k, it can range. So that's the morning, again very similar to what we saw in the endurance block, but then the evening is where it gets different. We do another 10k at 90% marathon effort, 5-minute static rest, and then we're looking to do some speed work. And this is all about speed. Canova hits home here that this workout is all about speed. He likes to get his athletes on the track, and he'll get you to do some kind of track workout, whether it's sort of like K repeats or whatever it might be, and he'll say, I want you to split these laps at a certain times. He's not looking for you to hit a certain pace. He wants you to run laps in 65 seconds, 68 seconds, 70 seconds, whatever it might be. And the second that you cannot hit those splits, you cannot hit a lap in that time, you drop out from that rep, you stop, and then you go again on the next rep until you basically can't go anymore and you can't hold that pace. And why is that? Because Canova said this evening session of this special block is purely about speed. You've got all that endurance done in the morning and the first part of this workout. We're not worried about any more endurance. We're looking to focus on speed. So that's the two different types of special blocks that you can implement.
Daming gagawin!
Magpresto ka na, peanuts, ito, peanuts have the...
So how did I implement these into my London Marathon training plan? Well, I adapted it quite significantly to the level of athlete that I am. And what I made sure I did actually was, before I even embarked on a special block, I got about 10 or 11 double threshold days under my belt before I even considered doing this, because obviously this is such an intense volume for a runner of my standard and ability, and for most of us out there, that there is obviously that injury risk that comes with it. Obviously Canova training is a lot more specific, so we're not pushing our bodies in terms of running really fast and really burning that top end speed. It is a very controlled effort, but it's the duration and the endurance that you're working on that really brings on the fatigue massively, I found, and can really obviously then cause a drop in form, create injuries and that sort of thing. So there are obviously things that you need to be aware of, but how I adapted it was I scaled everything down to almost match up with what I was doing on my double threshold days. So most of my double threshold days, the morning and the evening, ended up being somewhere between 9 to 10 miles in the morning and evening. So I was getting around 18 to 20, sometimes 21 miles worth of volume in a day with my double threshold work. So with my special blocks, that's exactly what I aim to do. And what I wanted to do is kind of almost alternate them week in, week out. So I wasn't quite getting the endurance intensity of the 20Ks worth of marathon effort. There was no way I was going to get 50Ks worth of work done in a day. It was just a case of, on a double threshold day, 20 miles, and on a speed special block, 20 miles. That's all my aim was in this. So I scaled it right back and did, rather than 10K, I did 5 miles at 90%, 5-minute rest, and 5 miles at marathon pace. So I kept the morning 10 miles. Evening, I did the mixed version because I was doing a double threshold day every other week, therefore the evening was speed work. So again, I wanted to keep the special block in the mixed area rather than the endurance, because I wanted to keep that speed work in every single week. So what I ended up doing with that was another 5 miles at 90%, having the 5-minute rest, and then doing some kind of speed workout, whether that was 5 by a mile, whether that was 8 by a K. I was trying to make the workout 5 miles worth of work. So with the rests and recoveries, it did creep slightly over 20 miles, but just making sure it was 20 miles worth of quality work. So that's how I integrated it, making sure it matched up with my double threshold days, not making sure that one week I had 20 miles worth of work and then the special block week I had like 25 or 30 and back down, and having this yo-yo effect. I needed to keep it consistent, something that my body was used to, but something that would push it a little bit further than it has done before. So rightly or wrongly, that's how I've adapted it to suit my marathon training, and I feel like it's worked absolutely fantastically. I feel really, really fit, and I feel really, really good. And I want to say a massive thanks to Canova himself for publicly putting out a lot of this information for people to read, for people to learn. It's fascinating to study, and I've had a joy just learning about his philosophies and how he coaches. Who I also want to say a massive thanks to is Sweat Elite for providing probably the most in-depth information out there that I've loved reading, and watching. So what I'm going to do, guys, is link to their article down in the description below, plus 2 or 3 of their Canova videos, which I highly recommend you watch. They've done a dedicated video of Canova coaching his athletes in the morning session and the evening session. You watch them back to back so you can see the structure. He really hits home in a more mixed special block way with the speed stuff. You'll see exactly what I mean when he takes his athletes to the track. He really gives them an in-depth talking to as to what he wants them to do, and it's really great to hear. So I want to say a massive thanks to Sweat Elite for publishing that video and obviously making that content available to people like me and you just to learn and grow our running knowledge. And a massive thanks to you guys for listening and following along with the training. If you have any more questions, please do feel free to drop them in the comments below. And if you did miss the Double Threshold Day video, make sure you check that out on screen now, along with another really useful, informative video. That's it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.
More 95% of marathon speed.
Life is a journey we make together, so we buckle up, bravely exploring the unknown. Because the only way to move forward is with a drive that does not compromise. It's the ambition that never settles, the desire for comfort and security, and the hunger to affect change. Together, we can make this journey so much better.
The reason because of this 10K
Shot. Yo.
Hard station. Today,
Yeah.
normal. I just take breakfast and then lunch,
Jump.
and then I sleep a little bit, but not that much. Like just I show on a movie, and just.
But are you feeling the morning? Can you feel?
Today morning was okay, but now the muscle a little bit strange, so we'll see. I try to follow the pace. When it will be strong, I will get in the car. Otherwise, I will push it. No, I will push it at the beginning and the end.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
With your bike.
Back with the bike? Back with the camera?
I saw a picture in which you are riding a bike and it's dark, eh? So I was like, he's running. Then all of a sudden I see you are in the bike.
How are you feeling after this morning?
I'm good, man.
Feeling good? It's funny every time.
You now. So, we're here at Renado's special block for the second workout of the day. We're doing, what is it, 10 kilometers now?
Yeah.
What pace?
3:10.
3:10 pace, 10 kilometer?
Yeah.
Finishing with a bit of a downhill here.
Yeah, downhill. 10.
Downhill towards Eldoret. We then get in the cars. We're going to fit as many people as we can into one matatu.
Yeah.
Maybe 25 is the record. And then we're going to Kipchoge Stadium for another 10 Ks, 10 times 1,000 meters.
Yeah, 10 times.
At what, 250, 255?
252.
252?
Yeah.
252 pace.
Yes.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like this morning the first 10K, yeah? Between 31:30 and 32, something like this in the middle, okay? After everybody in Matatu, we go on track.
Yeah, and then don't waste time.
Good.
Perfect.
Time. Kipchoge. We finish at 9.
So hakuna kubadilisha nini tuingie kwa gari hivyo.
3:10.
Are you okay?
Julian, yes.
Is it 10k straight one way?
Yeah, up to junction.
Then down.
Turn right.
Down to the dirt.
3, 2, 1.
Uy, pole sana. So Matt, how familiar with the special block were you before this morning?
I'd read a bit about it. I haven't ever seen one or been to the workout, but yeah, I read a bit about it. We actually think Tate wrote a couple of articles about it on our website. But it's really pretty surreal to be at a workout and have Canova explain it during it. It's really cool. I'm not sure if this is dangerous. I mean, we're going pretty slow, so I think we'll be fine. I know there's going to be comments about this being dangerous, so I might address that. I'll strap onto this thing here and keep filming. But where are we at? Like 3 or 4k into the 10k in the afternoon, so still lots to go.
Yeah, I mean, loads to go.
Yeah, they've got 7k more at 3-minute pace or 3 or 5, whatever they're running, and then 10 times 1k after this.
At 2:52 pace. Yeah.
It's a big day for these guys.
Huge.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, man. Keep it going. Perfect. Really good.
Downhill has started. Ende.
Yeah.
Okay, chef.
And
No watch on. So he's not running to a specific pace or anything. He's just running. And for some reason faster than the others.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Good running.
Julian, what happened with that guy that was up at the front and then...
It does not listen. It's not supposed to be hard. He wants to compete, so let's compete on the track now. We'll see who is strong.
I think he's finished.
No, he's finished. I'm telling you in track, you're not seeing.
Hey.
Yeah.
What was with the guy in the front? The guy in the front?
Problem.
But now for the track session?
Yeah,
Surely he will die.
yeah, he will die now. You get a massive guno, go 183, 193, 183, 193.
But 10K was not bad, 31-21, but nothing was special. You know, we see the reason because of this 10K in the morning and in the afternoon that are about between 85 and 90% of the speed, no, 95% of marathon speed practically, is to start to use some glycogen for emptying the tank. So we finishing with something faster after the fibers, muscle fibers become hungry of glycogen, and we practically we oblige the fibers to look everywhere for having yet some fuel. No? So this is the reason, practically, and we see. No, after the special block, you are completely empty, and you need to recover very well 2 days. This is what we do.
Will they take 2 or 3 days off after this?
2 days, well, no, they run also 2 times, but 50 minutes, very, very easy.
Okay.
So nothing more special for this. The next workout for this group is Sunday. They have 17 kilometers on track, good level. No, also because they have a half marathon everybody in short time.
Okay.
So it's another. Many, I tell you, I don't have anything. I don't know, but not Eric jogging 200 meters. You jogging 200 meters. So he finished. Remain 1.5 minutes there. You finish the 1K, and you have practically just 2 minutes jogging before joining him. So every time we start from there. One important thing, guys. Here, you need to remain with the speed of that is 68 per lap. So don't think to run 1200 meters. You run at 68 the same speed altogether. When you are no more able, out, okay? And for the next. So for you become an exercise of speed, not after all the kilometers that you had today. Remove from your mind that you need to run 1200 meters maybe in 350 or 340. Forget. Speed, like Eric, like Julien, like Aman, this one. Speed like this. When you are no more able to stay, out. Okay? And you start for the next. Put in your mind this one. Volume is enough today. You have already. So don't look for volume. Look for speed. Okay?
Okay. That means you should, if it's
Yes, yes.
not the normal training is 10 times 1000. If you cannot do 10 times 1000, you do 10 times 800 or 10 times 600. That means you do the 10 times, but shorter distance. The pace is 68 per lap.
We start from there. So the final. So 1200. Eric, Boniface. I don't know if somebody else wanted to try some 1200, but the lazy guy, because he's patient, not in K before. Come, we see how many times. The other, remember, 1K for Julien and Amanal. They go 200 meters jogging, and we start every time.
Drink NutriBoost! Mixed with nutrients para matulungan ka maging gatas sigla!
Nice, nice.
Bado ana dakika mbili.
Fine. 68, perfect. 217, okay.
All the way, gentlemen.
324.5. Good, 216, perfect. Three 24.9.
65, 66,
67. 323.3.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
Recovery is about 1 minute. Eric is between 130 and 140. For the others, 30 seconds more, 35 seconds more.
Okay. Okay, Murli 68, alright? Yes, be consistent. Let's go!
It's crazy. What a day. What a flippin' day. I'm tired and I'm following on the bike.
Good.
Merienda na! May extra ba? Nice! Yes! Wais choice ng mommy's top! Famous extra!
Okay, good. 3 remaining. 3:24.7. Fast the final and not fast the lap before.
This is how professionals wear their camera straps.
My neck's getting sore, so I'm wrapping it around my head now.
Top tip from that box.
I could probably just film like this actually. Just put it on and walk around.
Okay, guys. Number 9, eh? 2 remaining.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go. 68. The last. La puta madre.
Hey. The last Julian is taken. I know.
The last 230.
Do that, you know, possible, man.
Be consistent, be consistent, be consistent.
No.
Julian.
Yeah, same pace. 68. Okay? We have time. 68. 68. Let's go. Ah! Ah!
Candy.
Yes, Candy. Yes, Candy. Careful, Candy. Woo.
You refuse to watch it. 67.
Ayaw talaga mapindot sa up. Ay! Ayaw mapindot ng cellphone mo pa. Papas.
The lazy guy, because he's fresh, not okay before. Come, we see how many times. The other, remember, 1K for Julien and Amanal, they go 200 meters jogging, and we start every time from there.
16. So,
Seven. Good. 324.5.
Good job, guys. Good job. 15, 17, go, Sam. Let's go. 68.
17.
Subukan ang kapeng-kapeng sarap at aroma ng Nescafe Original.
The perfect smile is the one you don't hold back. Colgate Optic White.
All the way. Good. Oh yeah. Oi.
Good job.
That's nice. Come on.
I don't want to figure walk out. I don't
Come on.
I don't want to figure walk out. I don't want to figure walk out.
Bro, it's like 55K.
I'm coming for you. What? What?
Show me your...
Oh, you want me to show you mine?
Có khơi này. Yeah, like that. Yeah, there. We have 58.
He had chronic diarrhea, which was said to be fetid beyond all conception. I'm Acadia Einstein, and this is Strangeful Things.
Well, this practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated. Strangeful things.
Okay, so here we are again. It's me, Acadia, here with a Mel's and a Shuey, in an Italian accent that makes no sense, because the guy we're about to talk to is French. How's it going, you guys?
Going good, going good. I received a book that I have been wanting via the postal service from Barnes and Noble. So I'm very happy about that.
It's Christmas Memories 2019.
It's this really cool, like, special edition Stephen King that has Carrie, The Shining, and Salem's Lot all in one book together.
Oh, very neat.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. I'm glad that it finally got here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yay for the Postal Service.
Fucking A right.
Huzzah.
What do you got, Chewy?
All right, I don't want to bring the mood down. I'm not doing something depressing or anything like that. It's just today happens to be the 4-year anniversary of the day my dad passed.
Oh,
and I just wanted to say that I'm doing this episode in honor of him.
Okay.
Even though this is a completely gross episode.
Yes.
Could have picked one not about diarrhea.
So that just remember that everything in this episode is the opposite of Chewy's dad.
Yeah.
Exactly. He was a good man.
Yes, he was. He was indeed. Well, I am extraordinarily well rested because
Garbage is a source of income for many people around the world, especially those who live in poverty. Metal debris, plastic, aluminium, paper, cans, different types of bottles that have been discarded will be sorted before being sold or sent to recycling plants. Some poor people in Manila make a living from selling garbage. But there is another type of garbage market. The type of garbage they're looking for is organic waste. Just like many other recycling processes, organic waste from trash bins is sorted, cooked, and served again as new dishes. These dishes are called in Tagalog pagpak, which is an onomatopoeic term referring to the action of picking up food from the ground and cleaning it. It basically means brushing off the dust and soil. "3 o'clock in the morning in a slum in Manila. We arrived to see a day in the life of a food recycler. We wandered through the rain, stomping along muddy streets filled with potholes and puddles. It's been drizzling all night here in Manila.
Oops! Health check!
Manila.
when they raided your house, you got the call while we were making another gun video.
Yeah, I was making
somewhere
a
else.
gun video, and then they got the call from my mum that the police were there searching for the gun, and I was like, she was like, "Can you come home?" And I was like, "No, I'm filming a video with a gun at the moment, so like, can I just, like, get back to you." And she was like, she thought it was because of the current video I was filming, and it was so funny that the best thing was the police arrived at the door. They asked my mum. They were just like, "Oh, we're here because of a video Alex has made," and then my mum just starts.
And that was so trippy. So I
listing the videos that it could possibly be. Just like, is it this one? Is it this one? They were just like, nope. Yeah, it's that one.
So it can't be the 10th one, guys.
Yeah. Surely not. Like,
those police played it so well because they were kind of like someone for your mum to vent to. Like they were like, my crazy son is always doing all these horrible things.
Yeah. And I told her as well. I was like, "Mum, you don't have to tell. Like, if the police ask you questions, you can remain silent." And as soon as I said that, she was like, "Don't you fucking tell me to be silent. Like, if you don't tell me what to say. Like, if you do, I want to say whatever I want." And I was like, "Sorry, just please, you dob me in then. Take me to
I was going to say, like, to be a mother to you.
Oh, yeah.
Like she'd have
it's pretty bad. Like, the amount of, like, when I was helping her.
Not to be
The bumpy street is swamped by the water. Under the dim light of torches and street lamps, accompanied by drizzling rain, the sound of cars passing by and the roosters crowing. We sat down by a pile of garbage and began our conversation with Bird.
Nakita ko kasi nung araw kasi nandun kami sa kabila. May kumukuha niyan. Timba siya, binibinta na sa Baseco. Kaya meron nga sa palengke ng pagpag doon, pa-display. Tapos na nakikita ko, sabi ko naman, okay naman kasi minsan nung sumama ako sa biyahe, katulad sa pag nagsama ako sa biyahe, yung sa istante nila, pag sumubra nyo, hindi na pala pwedeng initin. Ibibigay sa akin. Nakain namin kasi okay naman.
After the restaurants, which are the origin of this organic waste, the next people in this recycling process are the buyers, who collect food waste from these restaurants. The process starts right after closing time, at around 10 or 11 p.m. Once the restaurant is closed, the employees start cleaning up the place and put the trash bags containing organic waste outside. Bird's job is to go around collecting the bags from various restaurants quickly, so that the waste won't be rotten. This collection is usually done by midnight.
Gabi-gabi kailangan namin makuha yun. Gawa na, umangamoy pang fast food restaurant, diba? Kailangan gabi-gabi kung nakukuha yun. Hindi po pwedeng kinaumagahan. Kaya umalis ka dito ng 8 o'clock. Pagdating mo niyan, karga ka lang ng karga. Para hindi sila nangangamoy. Alas 12, dito na kami.
Manila is one of the world's top-ranking capital cities in terms of the number of slums. One of the slums here is also considered the world's largest. Economic growth in recent years has not ameliorated the situation. On the contrary, poverty is soaring.
Burger, not a heavy hitter. Fuck those best
best ever quarter pounder. Now harder, juicier, tastier.
From various restaurants across the city, Bird drove his truck containing the trash bags to this pile of garbage in the slum. The sorters are already here, waiting. They offload the truck and start to sort the garbage deftly.
Bagong kuha pa lang, nahakot. Sariwa pa yan. Sariwa.
He was ready.
Ito kamukha nito, bagong hakot lang to kanina. Sariwa pa yan.
So usually they know that.
Araw-araw hinahakot yun.
So
Di pwedeng sa hotel.
Ibabaho yan dun eh.
Kailangan yung talagang
Kailangan hakutin.
kunin yan. Araw-araw.
Mountains of garbage, giving off a foul odor, surround us in the darkness, with only the sorters' headlamps lighting the scene as they work relentlessly and against time. No need for masks to protect them from the dust and smell, nor proper clothing for this filthy work. Only bare hands are needed as they dig fearlessly through this mixture of leftovers and other trash. Their job is to look for food waste scattered throughout a pile of garbage. Other leftovers are ignored. The only things they need are chicken bones with bits of meat left over by whoever.
Pinipidyo namin mga laman. Tapos ngayon, may dinadalang kami gan. Yung isang ganito, bayaran ng 140, 150.
Rice and vegetables are set apart, ready to be sold as animal feed, such as for pigs. Chicken bones are not a pig's favourite, so they're placed in a different bag. The content of this last bag is the most valuable and the most sought after. The chicken bones with scraps of leftover meat still attached. By the time the sun rises, the sorting is done. Chicken bones with the bits of meat are packed in bags of 10 kilograms each. From the garbage pile, Bird sells the chicken bones to food vendors in this slum. Despite the steady growth of the economy, the Philippines is still struggling with the distribution of income. The already huge gap between the rich and the poor is widening more and more. 1 out of 3 Filipinos is living below the poverty line. They struggle to get the bare necessities. It's a challenge just to put food on the table. Digging through a pile of trash for food and goods has become a way for many people to survive. The chicken bones with scraps of meat have reached the 3rd step in this desperate process, the restaurants. The restaurants cook these bones into various dishes, such as adobo and caldereta, local dishes popular among Filipinos. Adobo and caldereta, made of this food waste recovered from the garbage, is known as pagpak. The sun is rising. The rain has just stopped. We're still wandering along the swampy street, flanked by ramshackle dwellings made out of tin. Locals are roaming around. We've reached another step in the food recycling process. The shop has been open since dawn. A huge wok is set on a stove. The sound of distant roosters crowing can be heard from time to time. This morning meal is caldereta, a Filipino-style stew in which meat is slowly cooked in tomato paste. She starts by preparing the ingredients, which includes washing the chicken bones in water 4 times and letting them dry. Next, she fries shallots to bring out their aroma, and then adds the washed chicken bones and a pinch of salt. The secret is the tomato sauce. As well as adding flavour, it also covers the unpleasant odour coming from the garbage. Mix it well, then leave it on a low flame for another 15 minutes. Now we have a hot dish of caldereta ready to be served. Each dish is sold at 10 pesos, or around 8 Thai baht, or about 21 US cents.
Mura lang eh, manok. Isang punta pa sa Jollibee, dito na lang. Hindi ko nga rin alam bakit. Siguro, ako nga dati, hindi na ako kumakain yan eh. Napakain na ako pag ako ang nagluluto. Masarap naman kasi siya, kahit tira-tira na.
She told us that she paid 120 pesos, or $2 for the chicken bones she bought from Bird. The whole bag is then cooked into pak-pak, which can be sold for 200 pesos, or about $3.40. After deducting all the expenses, she's left with 50 pesos, or just 85 US cents.
Maselte ang manok kasi, ang baboy kasi, karamihan high blood. Mabilis ang katulad sa manok, hindi masyado.
This man is a regular customer here. He collects or buys expired eggs and sells them at low prices. After selling all his eggs, he stops here to eat. Apart from the good flavour, he also comes here because of the affordable prices. A dish of pag-pag is eaten with some rice he brought from home. The whole meal costs him less than 10 baht, or about 26 cents.
Kailangan po ugasan po yan para maayos pong pag-ano. Kasi pag hindi po naayos, hindi po maluluto ng maayos po. Hindi siya nalalasa siya ng isa may panis. Ano siya.
Why is most pak-pak made with chicken? This echoes the eating habits of Filipinos, especially those who live in the city. The Philippines is a melting pot of different cultures. It's a mix of island traditions, Chinese merchants, classic Spanish culture, and modern American commercialism. The American fast food culture is very influential here. Popular dishes include burgers and fried chicken. Fried chicken is so popular that the Philippines even has their own fried chicken brand. With its familiar flavour and affordable price, Jollibee, a local fast food chain, has built the largest market share in the Philippines, outselling famous US franchises like McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC. Big, crunchy pieces of fried chicken from Jollibee are a dream food for poor people. But the chicken bones, with bits of meat people leave after eating at Jollibee, are all they can actually afford in real life.
Siyempre sayang, mahal-mahal ang bilihin, tapos sayangin lang nila. Yung samantalang yung mga mahihirap, yun, naghahabol na lang din sa tira nila.
Sagot mo, pares na kasi yun tinapala, siyempre tira-tira. Siyempre pwede makuha ng tao, lininisan. Tapos lutuin na, mamakain. Ano rin naman sila, siyempre sila may kaya. Nahirap na yung mga tao rito. Kaya gawin nila ng tao, pwede lutuin.
No criticism or condemnation. Their only feeling is that others have more opportunity. Though they dream of having a piece of fried chicken from a fast food chain, those dishes remain out of their reach. Jollibee sells a piece of fried chicken with rice for 95 pesos, or $1.64, while a dish of pak-pak costs only 10 pesos, or 17 cents. Only once or twice in a very long time might they bite the bullet and pay for a hot and fresh piece of fried chicken with meat on it, one that has not been in a trash bin. But in their everyday lives, Pag Pag is probably the closest they will get to their dream dish. The Pag Pag journey, which begins in the garbage, has reached its destination, in a dish for those who rarely have a chance to eat whole pieces of fried chicken.
Minsan po kumukunti, minsan marami rin. Meron po minsan buko, hindi pa na nakakain. Yun lang.
Other than food vendors who purchase chicken bones to make Pag Pag for sale, the bones are also packed into smaller portions for anyone who wishes to buy them to cook at home. We continue our journey through ruins and decay, which reflect the scarcity and famine in the neighborhoods. This granny is selling chicken bones in small packs. Her clients are the residents of the area. This mother has come with her baby to buy the chicken bones to make her own Pag Pag for the family. Though we can afford fresh food, we couldn't help stepping in and buying some from the granny. Once she finds out that we're not locals, she eagerly tells us the recipe for adobo, a popular local dish in the Philippines. From tin shacks that sell Pag Pag in the slum area, we travel back to the origin of this recycled food. Here is a modern commercial district in Manila. Everything is clean and organized. Apparently, only those with purchasing power, which is a small group here in the Philippines, come here to spend their time and money.
I want to have country fry wings.
We order some food. The dish reminds us of the Pag Pag we just saw. The chef here acknowledges the existence of Pag Pag and gives us his honest opinion.
Chef, recycling food that way is not
No, it's not recommended. Because as a chef, I'm trained in the HACCP, we call it HACCP, which is Hazardous Analysis Critical Control Points. It's an international standard for food safety, HACCP. So they don't recommend recycling food. You can take whatever leftovers you have and eat it the following day, but not to recycle whatever is eaten and recook it.
Give me some knowledge. If food is not finished like this and I don't want to take back home, what can we do with the food?
If for example there's so many food, I suggest actually you can take it home and do.
What if I didn't want to take it home? Okay, I'm staying in the hotel tonight. I don't have way to actually heat it tomorrow morning.
So you don't have any plans of eating it again?
Yeah.
I suggest you just throw it away.
You
can, or just give it to, just pack it up, take it out, and just give it to whoever wants it.
Okay,
because that's different from Pag Pag. Because in Pag Pag, they throw it in the trash already.
Right.
Unlike if you take it out, they pack it neatly, then you can do whatever you want with it. Unlike Pag Pag, it's thrown away and it's mixed with other food ingredients. It gets mixed up with the bacteria, with the leftovers, and who knows what's inside.
Poverty has long been a chronic problem in the Philippines, combined with a skyrocketing birth rate, contributing to a population of over 100 million. All this has pushed 1 out of every 10 households in the Philippines below the poverty line, with an average daily income of less than 50 baht, or not even $2. Roughly 1.5 million kids only eat 1 meal a day. 1 out of 3 children under the age of 5 suffers with cretinism. 8 out of 10 children aged between 6 months and 5 years don't have enough food to eat and have developed chronic malnutrition. That includes the youngest member of this family.
How old are you?
3.
3. You want something? Okay, you sit with me here. Yeah, you can take as much as you want.
I didn't bring his to hospital so I didn't know why he's, I think, a little bit thin.
He's a little bit thin for his age.
For his age.
So you think because of he doesn't have enough vitamin?
Yeah, maybe enough.
The mother is well aware that her child's deformed body is a sign of malnutrition. But her tiny income doesn't allow her to provide enough food to all of her 6 children.
So you think they have enough protein to eat?
No, doesn't. Because every day we need to eat a balanced diet, diba? For every day. But I can achieve that. What we have, we need to eat what we have. If wala, like if there's nothing. I can't provide to give him a milk because she's the one who get milk because I'm in work.
So since when that he stopped taking milk?
1 year old, 2 years old.
So he only had milk for one year.
Yeah.
I have seen how illegal drugs destroy individuals and ruin family relationships.
President Duterte's war on drugs has affected the livelihoods of many poor families. It has worsened the situation of already poor families.
The side of my husband, yeah.
Her husband was shot and killed by the police, despite having no connection to drug crimes, but just because he happened to be walking near the area where the operation was taking place. The family was left without their father figure. The mother had no choice but to bring all 6 children to come to live with her parents. One of her children is now being taken care of by the staff of a private social organization which works with children.
My husband go to jail because he's set up. And I asked the officers why he is
in
the jail. They said to me that your husband is in the area of bypass operation. Although you're not in the house, but you're in the perimeter.
Then you are guilty too.
Yes, you're also in the area. I think it's 15 meters in the area. Everyone who's in the area will get the police, the officer. Maybe I'm worried about the food because the one they intake their body is not good enough. There's less vitamins, less minerals because of the kind of food they eat. So if I will given a chance, of course I want to give best food for my children.
But you just cannot.
I cannot.
The money they have is not enough. So it's only 1 or 2 of them feeding 10 children, 10 members of the family. So I don't think that we have work, but it's not enough really to really support the needed food of the children. If you will see, you can read our news, for every 10 children, there are still 4 to 6 children who are still malnourished under 5 years old.
4 to 6, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I don't think that we're already good in terms of nutrition problem in the Philippines.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
These kids with malnutrition should immediately be placed under a doctor's care. But the issue is severe, widespread, and out of control in the Philippines. Manila has always been densely populated. Still, many people are flooding in to search for better opportunities in the capital city. Every inch is packed with people, including cemeteries, which are often turned into housing for the living instead. Tackling food scarcity by growing their own food is hardly possible in Manila, as seen with this family. 11 people are living in a 10 square meter space. It already seems impossible to organize sleeping space for everyone, let alone any space for vegetation or livestock. We are back to the same spot where we were this morning. There are still people digging through the piles of trash, hoping to find something to sell to food vendors to make pagpag, or to take home to cook their own pagpag for their family. We keep wondering to ourselves, how hungry do you have to be to eat food from other people's trash? Because they are fully aware that pagpag is not hygienic and it exposes them to various diseases.
Katulad mga Jollibee lang, no? Hindi din eh. Sarap na yun. Mas masarap pong Jollibee sa akin. Kasi po, ma'am, may buto-buto. Doon po, ma'am, buo po yun. Kaya, ano po yun eh. Doon mabubusog ka. Pero busog ka rin naman dito, ma'am, pagka marami kang ano. Doon bitin.
Siyempre, yung mga masasarap na.
Katulad ng
lechon. Wow. Yung mga hindi nakakain dito sa lugar namin, siyempre.
But what else can you do when you have so few options in life? You either die of starvation or live off garbage.
Napapasaya ang kain? Mag-cleanse nightly with Del Monte Fiber Enriched.
Hey everyone, Northern Vietnam. Marrow to the mixing the ratio of fatty oiliness to the flavor to just get it perfect. They have mastered the art of that stock. Oh man, we got here at a perfect time. They were just mixing some of that broth, but you can just immediately tell how the broth is the king here. They have a massive, literal hot tub sized bowl. Soup broth packed and so busy. And you can see that the beef, at the other place we went to, they cook the beef, they boil the beef. But here the beef is already cooked.
He's very different.
You put it into your broth? You can put it into your broth. Hey everyone, I'm in Coro. Nice. Oh, okay. Dish has a starch that it's eaten with. And for instance, this dish, you wouldn't eat it with rice. You would eat it with these beans. Whereas this dish, you would eat with the rice. So every dish, every main dish, black-eyed peas or pigeon peas. That is an amazing dish. And something
In the modern
Somebody on Reddit
landscape
says, my
of the
narcissistic dad tried to ground my flight. I had a flight abroad from the UK to Germany to see a friend I haven't seen in ages. I knew my dad wouldn't allow me to go, so I didn't tell him. Wanted to leave while he slept. I left a note saying, gone to Germany for a week. Work has confirmed time off. Don't worry about it. It was an early flight, so I left a day early and crashed at a friend's place closer to the airport. Found out that he was arrested as he woke up, found my note, raced to the airport, kicked up such a ruckus that he was taken into custody before I had even left. Upon returning, I found that he had found my car at my friend's place and smashed the window. Now he's comparing me to my mother, who left him 2 decades ago. I've decided to move out. Probably a good decision. You know, sometimes people who live among abuse, it's kind of like fish in water. They don't realize they're living among it until they leave. This is just straight up abusive. And yeah, you should be around this person as little as possible, despite the fact that they're your father. Somebody on Reddit says, my narcissistic dad tried to ground my flight. I had a flight abroad from the UK to Germany to see a friend I haven't seen in ages. I knew my dad wouldn't allow me to go, so I didn't tell him. Wanted to leave while he slept. I left a note saying, gone to Germany for a week. Work has confirmed time off. Don't worry about it. It was an early flight, so I left a day early and crashed at a friend's place closer to the airport. Found out that he was arrested as he...
Pete hadn't told me that he was coming over in August. Pete was like, got some good news, Chris. I'm coming over for 2 weeks. And I was like, when are you coming over, Pete? He was like, end of August. And I'm like, I'm not here.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined, as always, by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Donaldson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on?
Oh, it's Prosecco o'clock, people.
Oh no,
it's not actually. It's just the afternoon, really. It's way too early to be drinking Prosecco, to be quite frank, on a Sunday.
Yes,
yeah, I'm good, man. I'm approaching my trip to Japan.
Ooh.
Cannot wait to turn on my out of office. Can't wait to get on that flight and just sit somewhere where no one can talk to me or contact me or make me do things I don't want to do for a full 14 hours or however long it's going to be.
How long? I don't actually know how long you were coming to Japan for, right? How long? A week?
I think it's just over a couple of weeks. Yeah, just over a couple of weeks. But I planned a slightly longer trip because I thought we could, record some shows. But we're basically we've exchanged places. Basically, you're going to be you're going to be over here. I think, and I'm going to be over there. It's just how it is worked out.
I'm livid, Pete. I'm absolutely livid. This has been like the big thing. Pete hasn't been here since 2020. Before, a lot has happened since 2020. The world is a different place. The world is changing. And we've been so excited here on the podcast to have you come over to Japan. And yet, the time you're coming here is the one time I'm going away for a few weeks myself. So I remember, like, back in April, I think, when you announced this, and Pete hadn't told me that he was coming over in August. Pete was like, got some good news, Chris. I'm coming over for 2 weeks. And I was like, when are you coming over, Pete? He was like, end of August. And I'm like, I'm not here. Because I'm going to be in like a shop in London doing book signings. And you're going to be sitting here eating bloody energy jelly and coolish alone. But
that'll be a bit of fun, won't it? Doing like a book signing and stuff. Like doing your... Which shops are you going to be doing that in?
I was looking forward to it, but now you're not going to be there. I was hoping.
I know, I'm not going to be there to help.
Carry the books.
Sign some books.
I wanted to be like Prince Charles's pen holder. You know, Prince Charles signed everything and became king. And then he got really angry because the pen was in the wrong place or some shit. I wanted to be like that. I want to be like, fucking pretty bastard. But it's going to be sad. It's going to be lonely without Pete Donaldson in London.
Never mind. Never mind. We'll find some time, I'm sure.
I'll get over it. But I'll be in Waterstones, London, like the big boy bookstore.
Whoa,
yeah, big one.
That's a big one. Is that Piccadilly? No,
Piccadilly. Yeah,
Piccadilly. That's a beautiful building. Just generally a beautiful building.
Yeah.
It's well worth visiting, even if Chris wasn't there.
It's like Tuesday, Murakami Haruki. Wednesday, Richard Dawkins. Friday, That guy from YouTube. It's, it's not
Good
quite as
stuff.
glamorous.
Well, we'll see how long the queues are, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's the more relevant
Take that,
in
Richard
2023?
Dawkins. Take that, Richard. We'll see. But no, it's exciting. It's scary, but fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never done a book signing. Is it going to take a lot of time to be like, "Hello, Dave. It's Chris. Thanks for buying the book."
You did
I don't know how it
when you
works.
did your live show before Christmas that I witnessed, I obviously didn't have to do any signing,
No.
but you and Natsuki and Sharla, you were all kind of working bloody hard. And there was 2 showings of the video and the show that you were doing. Separated by 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yes.
And in the 2.5 hours, you filled that entire time just doing signings, and then after the show as well. We managed to. I think we managed to get some food later on, but it was a really difficult, long old process.
It was brutal. Yeah, we did the show in London, right, and we had like about 300 people or 400 the first one, and then they all got in a queue at the end, and I like signed everything, took photos. It was really fun talking to everyone, right? Including many of you guys listening and watching now. And then I had 2 hours to do that. And while I was like talking to people, the new folks were coming in for the second run, and we had to hide Natsuki because it was a secret that he was going to be there, like a joke, right? And then people coming in, I had to like stuff.
Cyberspace, you need to get creative when it comes to promoting your brand or your product. And I want to introduce you to a lady who's on the front lines of innovation, a true pioneer, to promote her OnlyFans. Her name is Camilla, and she's been making headlines this week because of one very degenerate marketing strategy she had for her OnlyFans work. And every headline reporting this called her the girl from Mr. Beast's Squid Game, which was really baffling to me because I didn't recall there being like some kind of front and center super.
Since we couldn't go to London for our anniversary because Americans aren't allowed to go outside, we got a new mattress for the first time in our entire time together.
What?
Congratulations. Yep. And it was a hand-me-down mattress that we got, and we were just like, well, this is just the mattress that we have, so whatever. You can't do anything about it. It's a mattress. You might as well just try to buy a new foundation for you. Never really occurred to us. Like every once in a while we'd talk about it and then be like, nah. But then we decided.
You never thought about getting a new mattress?
Nope. No, because there was no it didn't matter. It wasn't the bed's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't help. Like you can get ones that help, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll find out because it's only been since Sunday. But it's one of those Tempur-Pedic ones. I figured, well, fuck it. If I'm gonna be ruined anyway, I might as well be able to sleep well. And if they come to repossess it, nice try, suckers. No one's gonna want this now. Ha ha ha. So that's my big story for the week.
Nice. Well, congratulations on the new mattress.
Thank you. And now, in honor of your dad, here we go with the show. Now, I don't know how many of you guys hang around on the Strangeful Things website. Looking at the stats, I would say not many of you. But if you ever do, yeah, you're right. It's my homepage.
We have a website?
Fucking asshole. The reason that he said that is because just before the fucking show, he goes, "We have a Facebook, You know, we should put this on the internet."
You guys heard about this thing?
The podcasts are all the rage.
Your blogs are next.
Yes. Fucking Jesus Christ. So on the site, we have tags for the episodes, and we always say where it took place in case people are interested in a particular location. Like you can click on New York or California or whatever. But we also do what kind of story it is. Like if it's a disappearance, then the tag is poof. And then there's one for bloody murder and stuff like that. But this week's episode is not like anything we have seen before, because this guy, he's something.
So is that why you didn't even tell us that you were working on this script?
Yeah, because usually if you're working on something, you never shut up about it because it goes all along with you yelling at us for being freaking lazy.
Well, I didn't want to say anything because I would have felt bad waking you lazy fuckers up.
Oh, you're a dick.
Plus, this is just a quick thing, and when we're done telling the story, we can share personal anecdotes to pad things out if we need to. Honestly, I'm not sure how much of this guy I can take.
Well, that scares me because if you can't take it, then we don't have a fucking snowball's chance in hell. I mean, you're the one that wants to make a musical out of the Franklin cover-up, for Christ's sake.
Not the whole thing, just some parts. But this is different because while there are mixed up in a blender baby shakes in Franklin cover-up, by the way, this is foreshadowing because there really are. And for some reason, I just opened up the book again today, so it's coming. Anyway, there was not a person in the Franklin cover-up story that was very willing to drink that baby milkshake. But, and I don't mean a small milkshake. I mean a milkshake made out of a baby. Anyway, if the subject of our story had been around for that particular party, it might have been a very different story. We have talked about autosarcophagy before, which is, as we know, eating yourself. But tonight, we're going to talk about polyphagia, which is...
Okay. Polyphagia, also known as hyperphagia, is the medical term for excessive or extreme hunger. It's different than having an increased appetite after exercise or other physical activity. While your hunger level will return to normal after eating in those cases, polyphagia won't go away if you eat more food.
So if you're super hungry all the time and it's now, you can just eat an entire bag of Oreos at one sitting. Like, wait, is it a bag? The fuck do Oreos come in? Is it a box?
No.
No.
I mean, it's a bag, but it's got a hard bottom, which makes it more like a box.
It's a tray. It's a tray that they're in.
That's a tray encased in the bag, and now it has the self-seal flap on the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, Chewie would know all about the flaps.
Well, I know all about not being able to stop eating.
He eats a bunch of Oreos and then closes the flap. Keep on flapping, little Oreos.
Keep on flapping, little Oreos. I'll be here for you tomorrow.
And by tomorrow,
worry,
I mean...
I'll be back.
In 10 minutes.
Well, in my experience with Oreos, the little like flavor flap is just like not even necessary because when I do seal it and put it to the side, just like you're saying, I automatically pick it back up and then I get pissed because I have to rip the top off of it again.
Yeah. And then the ones on the side are like, you can't get at these, right?
you gotta push them.
Yeah, you gotta reach over the little hump to pull them into the middle.
Yeah, fuck those Oreo wrappers. Ugh.
Anyway, so you can eat a whole thing of Oreos, which, by the way, little known Oreo fact, they were a ripoff of Hydrox cookies and not the other way around. Yeah, so
I've never heard of Hydrox cookies, so...
Oh, well, then you weren't poor enough then, Mel.
Oh, wow. Whoa, this is the first time.
Yep, this is the first time.
They were generic Oreos that when you dunked them, they would not absorb milk.
And they sank. No.
They're like cardboard.
But they were first. Oreos are the ripoff. Anyway, you could also eat a bologna sandwich with a bunch of potato chips stuffed in it. Or you could eat ice cream with so much whipped cream from that spray can that the first few bites are nothing but whipped cream.
Ready Whip.
Yeah, well, these things are sounding really specific. Is there anything you're looking to tell us?
I'm empty inside. No, nothing.
We knew that.
They were completely random examples. Anyway, you can eat lots of stuff like that now. But what if it was 1772? Because that's when the subject of our story was born near Lyon, France. Tarare, which is how you have to say it, which is all we know of his name. So it's just Tarare. So he's like Prince or Cher. Nobody knows if it was his real name or his nickname. But I can't imagine anyone giving a newborn a nickname. So I'm going to say that when he shot out of his mom, they all yelled, Tarare! And it stuck.
Like, hooray! But they messed it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but it was Tarare for some reason. Even as a kid, he could never get enough food. He ate and ate and ate and ate and never gained any weight. He was like Jughead, but evil. Actually, is Jughead a bad guy on Riverdale? That would be pretty cool.
No.
Like, I've never seen Riverdale. Did you
He's
guys
not
watch
a-
it?
I have watched it in the past, and
Yeah.
Jughead is not a bad guy. He is a journalist.
Oh. Does he eat lots of hamburgers?
Well, the funny thing is, yeah, like they put food in front of him all the time, but you don't actually see a lot of shots of him just like grossly eating like you did in the comics. Yeah.
I don't have any examples of stuff that Terraria ate. Terraria when he was a kid, other than 1/4 of a cow that he ate in one day. But I did find something.
Ew, wait, raw?
Yeah, he wasn't much for cooking stuff.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this gets way better, Mels. Don't worry.
Oh, great.
Now, I found something on my new favorite webpage, The Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine by George M. Gould, MD, and Walter L. Pyle, MD, from 1898. They have a section in the book, which is now one of the pillars of the Strangeful Things research department, about perverted appetites, and include the following.
Fulton mentions a girl of 6 who exhibited a marked taste for feeding on slugs, beetles, cockroaches, spiders, and repulsive insects. This child had been carefully brought up and was one of 13 children, none of whom displayed any depravity of appetite. The child was of good disposition and slightly below the normal mental standard for her age. At the age of 14, her appetite became normal. Whew. That's great. A kid who eats bugs.
Well, do or did you guys as kids eat bugs?
Well, mine's only 4, so he hasn't, that I know of, eaten a bug yet.
My kids did not. I did.
Chewing.
You did? Why? Did you read how to eat fried worms and try it?
I was just a damn kid.
Oh, well,
What
that
kind of
doesn't
bug was it?
count. Yeah, what kind of bug?
It's just like a worm. It's just a worm.
Oh, that doesn't
It wasn't
count.
like
I
I
was...
ate. Oh no, it wasn't like I was doing it all the time. No.
Like cereal.
Pour some, dunk them in milk.
Yeah. What's for lunch today? Worms again? Oh yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. Oof. Okay. I also want to include this other quote from that section. Damador tells of persons who went into slaughterhouses and waste places to dispute with wolves for the most revolting carrion. It is also mentioned that patients in hospitals have been detected in drinking the blood of patients after venisections, and in other instances, frequenting dead houses and sucking the blood of the recently deceased. Dusal quotes the case of a caloric girl of 14 who eagerly drank human blood. She preferred that flowing fresh from a recent wound.
Oh my God.
Oh, thanks for having me read that section.
That's
That was
disgusting.
delicious.
Oh, just imagine how great it must have been to be like, oh, I'm going to do research for my medical book now. I need to find the grossest person in every town. And just write down what they do.
What do you guys got?
What do you got? I got somebody that throws rocks at their own face. So this gets us to 14. And according to what we know of Terraria, he was thrown out of the house as a teenager because his parents couldn't afford to feed him. Now, at the age of 17, he was slim and average height, so he was like Jughead, weighing no more than 100 pounds. No word on whether he was drinking blood or eating slugs, though. I should point out that apparently he was fond of snake meat.
Oh, God.
However, based on what we're going to learn, he was probably eating, like, actual buckets and drinking small streams. See, since he got kicked out, he fell in with a band of traveling jerks. They were thieves and sex workers, but they also did a sort of a show.
A
Now his
circus?
part of it, huh?
A circus?
We're the
Kinda, except if the circus just robbed you and gave you a hand job, I guess. I don't know.
There might be some circuses like that. You don't know.
Oh boy, they're coming back around. Whee! So now his part of the show was, to big surprise, eat things. Among the stuff he swallowed were corks, stones, live animals, and a whole basket full of apples. Now, we'll get to the live animal part, which is particularly delicious. But let's suffice to say that if a show had a guy who ate corks and it came to town, I'm not 100% sure what the headline act would need to be to make me more sold on attending. Step right out and watch this fucking guy eat all sorts of crazy shit. As one could imagine, this act was too big for simple French peasants, so they made their way to the big time in gay Paris. Any questions so far?
No, that's gross. I don't think I'd want to see any kind of sideshow attraction like that.
Hey kids, I think we can all agree that there are few pastimes more grotesque than competitive eating. The concept of a bunch of guys pushing their anatomy to its limits just for sport leaves a bad taste in my mouth in more ways than one. But imagine if these men didn't adopt this habit just for fun. Imagine if some gross biological error forced them to eat like this for their entire life. Introducing Tarare. Tarare was born in France around 1772 to a poor farming family. It's said that his appetite was so voracious that, by his teens, Tarare could eat an entire quarter of a cow carcass in a single day. You'd think he'd be like mega obese, but no, he only weighed 100 pounds by age 17. However, there were still a few things that stood out about Tarare appearance-wise. For one, he had a huge, stretched-out mouth with horribly stained teeth. He could reportedly fit 12 eggs in his cheeks at once, much like a chipmunk keeping its chipmunk eggs warm. Additionally, when Tarare was full, he'd get a crazy Octomom gut going, and any other time, he'd have a huge flap of stretched out skin hanging around his waist. He also stank to high hell, even by 18th century French peasant standards. He was described as reeking, quote, to such a degree that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces. So between all this and his horrendous outhouse flooding dumps, his family had had enough. Alright, you're eating us out of house and home here. You gotta go, man. You heard me. Kick bricks, Froggy. Wow, he just called a French person a frog. That's so racist. No, it's not. They're all French. The guy just looks like a frog is all. Oh. Well, too late. I'm already offended. That's fair. Dislike. After leaving home, Tarare was forced to beg and steal just to satisfy his gargantuan appetite. Inevitably, people began to take notice of him, and eventually he landed a job as a street performer in Paris. People would hand Tarare entire baskets of apples, eggs, and even wine corks, and watch in delight as he horked them down without the slightest hesitation. Normally, this went off without a hitch, except for one time when he suffered a severe intestinal blockage. Fortunately, the crowd was kind enough to carry him to the hospital, where he was treated with the strongest laxatives the 18th century had to offer. I would draw what happened next, but it would probably get my channel deleted, so let's just picture it for a few moments. Moving on. Cut to the year 1792. This marks the beginning of the War of the First Coalition. Ever heard of it? Me neither. Who was in it? Fucking everyone. Anyway, Tarare decided to enlist in the war. After all, maybe that would happen next, but it would probably get my channel deleted, so let's just picture it for a few moments. Moving on. Cut to the year 1792. This marks the beginning of the War of the First Coalition. Ever heard of it? Me neither. Who was in it? Fucking everyone. Anyway, Tarare decided to enlist in the war. After all, maybe neither. Who was in it? Fucking everyone. Anyway, Tarare 1792. This marks the beginning of the War of the First Coalition. Ever heard of it? Me neither. Who was in it? Fucking everyone. Anyway, Tarare decided to enlist in the war. After all, maybe that profound emptiness he was feeling was just a lack of purpose in life.
Turns out, no, he really was just psychotically hungry. Even after being granted quadruple rations, Terari would still be digging through the trash pile whenever he got the chance. After suffering extreme exhaustion, he was sent off to the military hospital in Suzerain. The staff there was so dumbfounded by the man's abilities that they decided to keep him there to run a few experiments. The first of which involved putting Terari in a room with a meal prepared for 15 people. Naturally, he ate the entire thing and immediately fell asleep. Next, they presented him with a raw eel. In response, Terari crushed the eel's skull between his teeth before slurping down the entire creature in one go. Now, this is hair-clenchingly horrifying for a couple of reasons. Firstly, he put a whole frickin' eel in his stomach, but secondly, there had to be some point during digestion where the meat was gone but the bones still remained. Now, for those of you who don't know, an eel skeleton looks like this. That means Terari had all of those needle-sized ribs stabbing into the walls of his stomach at once, and he was fine. He also ripped a live cat apart with his bare hands, drank its blood, and ate everything but its bones, and then later gagged up the fur and skin like an owl, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. After reviewing our data, I've come to the scientific conclusion that, yeah, we got a goddamn demon on our hands. But as we all know, with great devour comes great responsibility. Since Terari was still technically enlisted, the military decided to utilize his abilities for the greater good. Hey Terari, it's me, the General. Listen, could you eat this box with a note in it for me? If you do it, we'll give you a wheelbarrow full of bull organs. Lo and behold, 2 days later, he passed the container in mint condition and was given his reward as promised. With this proof of concept, they made him an official spy and sent him into Prussia with a document in his belly, to be delivered to an imprisoned French colonel. Unfortunately, there are a couple things Terari couldn't do that are generally important when sneaking into another country. A, he couldn't speak German, and B, it's pretty hard to maintain a low profile when you're running around like a madman, wolfing down garbage and mutilating small animals. So he ended up being captured by the enemy. Initially, he kept his mouth shut, for once, but after a whipping and a day in jail, Terari gave in. After confessing that he did, in fact, have vital intelligence snaking its way through his GI tract, the Prussians chained him to a latrine until the box emerged 30 hours later. The note wasn't actually anything important, so they just mock executed him, gave him a severe beating, and sent him on his way. After all that, Terari returned to life at the hospital, desperate for a cure for his condition, but nothing they ever tried worked. Meanwhile, the man's endless hunger continued to get him into all sorts of trouble. He'd often sneak out of the hospital to eat the scraps behind the local butcher and fight stray dogs in the alley for their precious garbage. He'd also seek out patients undergoing bloodletting in order to take all their life juice for himself. On several occasions, he was even caught attempting to eat bodies in the mortuary. By this point in my research, I was so desensitized to this guy that I didn't even bat an eye when I first read that. I was just like, alright, guess he must have been hungry. Anyway, the hospital staff begrudgingly tolerated Terari's buffoonery, until one day when he went too far. Well, Terari, you've only had 3 mess hall raids, 4 miscellaneous trash-related mishaps, and 1 cadaver defiling, so I'd say, so far, this week's been pretty good. Doctor, we should probably inform you that a 14-month-old child has gone missing from their room. Terari, look at me. Did you eat a fucking baby? Terari was promptly kicked out of the hospital and spent 4 years out and about doing, whatever horrific shit you can imagine. When he came back, he was suffering from advanced tuberculosis and died shortly after arrival. During his autopsy, the surgeons found that, when they looked into his mouth, they could see all the way down his throat and into his stomach cavity. As you can imagine, his whole abdominal region was profoundly deformed. Basically, if this is a normal human, this is what they found inside Terari. Just like the man's mind, we can see that around 90% is devoted towards food and 10% towards everything else. So, moral of the story here is that, no, you know what, not even I can find anything resembling a moral here. Not all stories have a point to them. Sometimes they're just sad and disgusting from beginning to end. And now a word from our sponsor. As you can probably tell, I'm a very visual person when it comes to learning. I firmly believe that engaging visuals are an essential teaching tool that allows for much deeper comprehension than plain old walls of text. That's why I'm pleased to introduce our sponsor, Brilliant.org. We all know that math and science are really important to master, and Brilliant's elegant UI and step-by-step design makes learning seemingly complex topics very intuitive, especially for visual learners. Their straightforward graphics, delightful animations, and interactive puzzles make it easy and fun to hone your own critical thinking skills. Personally, I've always been super intrigued by neural networks and all the things you can do with them, but I've always been too intimidated to research them in depth. After learning about Brilliant, I actually started taking their course in the subject, and I gotta say, it's been such a pleasurable experience that I plan to continue with it in my own spare time. To support me and learn more about Brilliant, go to brilliant.org/salmonella and sign up for free. Also, the first 200 people that go to that link will get 20% off the annual premium subscription. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and thank you for watching.
That I
Cloud nine, what a treat. Chocolate caramel.
Okay, here we go. First run in Kenya. Here we go. So Tom, I met you in Kenya 2011. First time I saw you, you were running a cross-country race in Iten, the self-proclaimed home of champions in the Rift Valley in Kenya. You were quite near the back, I have to say. I'm sure you won't mind admitting that. And I remember being inspired by that to run a race myself a couple of weeks later, not knowing that you were one of the best runners in Britain at the time. So, you know, I shouldn't have been measuring myself against you. But anyways, you spent 6 months training, living in a training camp.
I wanted to give myself a good opportunity to fulfill my potential really as a marathon runner, and what better way than immersing yourself with the best marathon runners in the world.
Since then, you've been working for the management company Run Fast, looking after Kenyan athletes, sending them to races in Europe, people like Boniface Kongin. I wrote this book about the Kenyans, and one of the big questions, and the question I'm always asked when people ask me about the book, is why are the Kenyans so good? So I had my ideas, but for someone who's worked and lived with them so closely, what do you think the Kenyan secret is?
I think there are many reasons why the Kenyans are so good. The optimism, there's the lifestyle, the altitude that they live at, which was a great help. Genetically, I think they're built to run distance.
One of the things the Kenyans often mention as one of their secrets is the famous ugali, which they eat every day.
Well, ugali is maize flour poured into boiling water and stirred
until it's as thick as can be, until you can stir no more. When my athletes come here, it's one of the most important things they always ask for.
So it's a whole stew pot of factors. There's
It
no,
is.
because obviously we can't emulate genetics or altitude. What can we emulate?
An important part of running, especially when you're training very hard, is to recover. Recovery is training in itself, and you'll find that the Kenyans will sleep an awful lot. I think we can all, take more time to recover from our training.
Go to bed early.
Go to bed early. Don't stay up and watch that extra
Right.
TV program.
Right. How has your running changed?
Well, I think the main thing that I've learned from the Kenyans is probably their mental outlook to running. Although they're professional athletes, they still have a very relaxed outlook to it. If they have a bad race, they just forget it. They'll say, I'll win next time, I'll break the world record next time.
So very confident.
It's a brilliant confidence to have. They just have this sort of eternal optimism that they'll always succeed.
So Konging, you live and train in Iten. Well, I spent 6 months there writing my book, and where Tom trained as well. But you're not from Iten.
I'm from Wasingishu County.
Okay.
Yeah, near Kaptagat.
Okay.
It's like 20 kilometers away from Iten. Yeah, I can take a long run to home.
Oh, you could run all the way home?
Yeah, 1 hour, 10 minutes.
Do you do that sometimes?
Yeah.
And what do you do when
Correct.
you're not running? What does the rest of the day involve?
Relaxing.
Relaxing?
Yeah.
That's what
Like
Tom was saying.
recovering,
Okay.
like sleeping, yeah.
Right, so that's important as well.
That's
is it?
important, yeah.
Right.
To get your body relaxed, recovered, yeah.
At what point did you decide you wanted to be a runner?
It was like since I was young. Yeah.
Since you were young, you always wanted to
I was
be a
going
runner.
school maybe 6 kilometers away.
Right.
So I was running morning,
Right.
lunchtime going back, and then in the evening. So
5 or 6 kilometers?
Yeah.
Every day?
Every day,
Right.
Monday to Friday.
I wanted to ask you about the competition in Kenya. You're one of the ones who've managed to get races abroad, but there's a lot of competition for those places.
Yeah,
Is
you have
that-
to be good in
you
Kenya.
Have to be good.
My recent races, I did one 10K in Eldoret, I was position 6. And then another one in Kericho, I was position 2. It's hard running in Kenya. Everyone is strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's lots of people to train with, lots of people to inspire you.
Yeah.
And Kenyans have some pretty impressive statistics. In 2011, the top 25 fastest marathon times in the whole world were all run by Kenyans. So that's pretty amazing dominance. This is a question people are always asking me, but it'd be great to ask a Kenyan runner. Why are Kenyan runners so good?
I can say training here is different with maybe in Africa and
Right.
Kenya. Weather is good, can get good roads, not tarmac.
So when you say good roads, you mean dirt roads?
Yeah, they are better. When you're running tarmac, you get more injuries.
You talked about running to school every day, and
Yeah.
this is something lots of Kenyan runners I've spoken to have talked
Yeah.
about. And you think that's an important part of what makes you a good runner?
I think so. That's the maybe like foundation. All the athletes, they are running to school.
Right. And why do you
Then
run to
get-
school and not walk?
Oh, it's far. You'll
It's
get
far.
late.
You get late.
Yeah.
When you were running to school, were you running barefoot or did you have shoes?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, because you know.
There are no shoes.
Do you think that helped with your running?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Yeah,
Because you know there's a whole movement now in the West, in Europe and America, where people are trying to run like barefoot.
Barefoot?
Because they
No.
think it makes them stronger. You don't think so?
Ah,
That's a funny idea for you.
Yeah, it's funny, yeah.
And do you think there's any other reasons? Because in other parts of the world, people run to school, but they don't have so many athletes.
I think the passion, like
Passion.
yeah, they have that passion to run. It's good to be an athlete. Everyone looks to the idol,
Who was your idol?
Tergat.
Tergat.
Yeah.
What is so special about Paul Tergat?
Was disciplined when he was young. Was going, I think, 20 kilometers to school. I think that's the thing he made him good athlete.
You felt a connection with him as you were running to school.
Yeah, was
You
running
think?
good.
Do you think you need to have the right attitude as well?
Yeah, you have to be positive.
Right.
When you're running like in a race, you hope for the best,
Right.
to win.
Right. And
That's all what is in my mind, to
Okay.
win.
And when you're getting very tired and your body is telling you to slow down, how do you carry on?
Just push it.
Push.
Yeah, push it.
And you always think you can win?
Yeah, you have to think like that,
Right.
to be positive. Yeah,
What is your dream one day?
my dream. I have to be good, to be best, yeah.
Do the best.
Maybe one time I'll be in Kenya team, something like that. Run for my country. You can't start maybe today and then win tomorrow, no. It takes a lot of time, so you have to be positive and patient.
Hello everyone, this is your Daily Dose of Internet.
Here I am, trying to hammer out a meatball for my grandson. Oh, just broke my freaking knife.
This guy is lucky to be alive and unharmed after having a sign go through his car. I found someone that can die if they eat food. Her entire digestive system is completely paralyzed. The only way she can survive is by putting a bag full of calories and nutrients straight into her heart.
Do I miss food? And the answer, honestly, is no. I have to be super careful with keeping things clean. That's happily ticking away now, and that'll feed me overnight for roughly 12 hours.
Putting a bag full of calories and nutrients straight into her heart.
Do I miss food? And the answer, honestly, is no. I have to be super careful with keeping things clean. That's happily ticking away now, and that'll feed me overnight for roughly 12 hours.
Hello.
I have featured bioluminescent water on this channel a few times, but I have never seen a close-up view like this before.
Whoa. Dude. It's good right here.
Pretty. How does something like this even survive in the wild? These kids are trying to sneak out of the house without setting off the camera.
No, that camera's gonna go off now, you idiot! You're standing right in front of it!
This is probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in a game of table tennis.
Zdalo se mi, že... Nejhezčí výměna celého zápasu. Zdálo se mi, že...
This guy was shining a laser at a police helicopter, and it only took 5 minutes for the police to show up and arrest him.
And right now we're getting hit pretty good with a green laser. One party standing in his driveway could be responsible as a...
Hey, we don't need to be here, 23rd and J.
What the?
This streamer couldn't understand what this guy was.
What the?
This streamer couldn't understand what this guy was saying.
Rainbow.
Oh.
Do you ask for Asian girls?
Am I asking for Asian girls?
Anything else?
Oh.
This person was bored and made a video game that uses the bricks on their wall. The dorm rooms at this university are a little different. There's a button you need to press to change your room from study mode to sleep mode.
Increasing your endurance as a runner is key to running faster, but what stops us runners from achieving this simple?
Rude, right? Yeah, no, it's completely
it's
true.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very reasonable. Just the amount of things to fix in that house that was just like, I don't even remember I shot through that wall. I was like, what?
Because you just shoot through walls in your
Yeah.
window, and I'm like, how? My mum would beat me. she would kill me if I was firing holes.
The
through
trick
walls
is you
and
get a piece of paper, you put glue, and you put it on the wall, and then she finds out 3 years later.
Yeah.
You know, when